Holy shit. He said what?
She opens her mouth and a lie comes out.
The intention of the show was to share more of myself.
You keep saying Meghan Markle, you know I'm Sussex now.
To share tips that I love in my life.
When nature has given you all the cues on how to have a perfect taste of something.
Oh, how fun is that? I love it.
I appreciate what hard work looks like. I like working hard.
Imagine walking into an interview thinking you're about to rewrite your legacy, and instead you end up speedrunning your own downfall. That's exactly what Meghan Markle managed to do in her Bloomberg sit-down, an interview so loaded with contradictions it could double as a drinking game. This wasn't Meghan versus the media. This was Meghan versus Meghan. And spoiler alert, Meghan lost. She wanted to project power, independence, and boss energy. But what she delivered was a blooper reel of self-exposures so raw, it made critics look like amateurs. Forget the tabloids, Bloomberg handed her the mic and she nuked her own credibility.
This year, alongside her Netflix series, Meghan made her first move into online retail with As Ever.
Wow.
It's an evolution of her passion for lifestyle content, which dates back to the TIG.
Woof.
Meghan wouldn't share sales figures for As Ever.
What?
But so far, most of its inventory has quickly sold out.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna come.
She swore she doesn't read negative coverage, then rattled off tabloid tactics like she's secretly running a masterclass in clickbait. She pretended royal dress codes were shocking, like pantyhose were some medieval torture device.
I had to wear nude pantyhose all the time. That was not very myself.
What?
This from a woman who literally wore them on suits while running a fashion blog. She hyped her luxury jam brand as if it was Amazon Prime, tossing around sales numbers so unrealistic you'd think she was pitching Shark Tank on opposite day.
We didn't plan for everything selling out in under an hour. And so watching those metrics happen in real time, it's already sold out. Because I'm business-minded, I'm immediately going, okay, well,
How good. How embarrassing.
This isn't just a little hypocrisy. It's Meghan Markle proving that when the spotlight hits, she doesn't need critics to tear her down. She does the job all by herself. And trust me, what she revealed next, it doesn't just crack her carefully built narrative, it shatters it into a million tiny royal-flavored fragments.
oftentimes the negative voices, are they saying negative things and then secretly going home and making single skillet spaghetti?
Meghan Markle swears she blocks out all the noise, that she's too zen, too enlightened, too focused on mental health to pay attention to the negativity swirling around her name. Sounds inspiring, right? Except 30 seconds later, she's suddenly breaking down tabloid strategies with the precision of a war general. She's quoting headlines, analyzing SEO keywords, and describing how editors craft clickbait around her like she's secretly interning at the Daily Mail. You don't get that level of detail from ignoring the press. You get it from doom scrolling at 3 a.m. with a glass of wine in one hand and Google alerts in the other.
And to be able to show that with all the noise that might happen in the world on a day-to-day basis, real life is still happening behind the scenes.
It's the classic Markle move, preach detachment, then prove obsession in the same breath. She wanted to come across as unbothered, but ended up sounding like the unpaid digital strategist of her own hate club. And the irony, she calls it toxic while clearly feeding on every headline like it's oxygen. If she's not paying attention, how does she know exactly what the tabloids are doing? It's like watching someone claim they're on a juice cleanse while shoving fries in their mouth. You can't sell inner peace while giving a masterclass in paranoia. Meghan didn't expose the media here. She exposed herself as her #1 subscriber, the woman who can't stop hate-watching her own brand implode. And if this was her opening move, buckle up, because the contradictions only get uglier from here.
When is she going to start being called out for these lies? Shame on Bloomberg. She is painting a fantasy.
Meghan sat there acting like pantyhose were some medieval torture device, as if the royal family dragged her kicking and screaming into 1985 and strapped beige nylon onto her legs against her will. She framed it like she was blindsided by these archaic protocols, shocked that she had to tone down the Hollywood glamour for palace formality.
I hadn't seen pantyhose since movies in the 80s when they came in the little egg. That felt a little bit inauthentic.
But let's not pretend this woman just crawled out of a cage. She spent 7 seasons on Suits, where professional wardrobe was literally her costume. And yes, pantyhose were part of that package. She even ran a style blog where she gushed about high fashion, luxury brands, and polished businesswear. Meghan Markle pretending she didn't know what pantyhose were is like Gordon Ramsay pretending he's never seen a frying pan. It's not ignorance, it's theater. She wanted to play the victim of outdated traditions, but instead came off like someone rewriting her own resume mid-interview. This isn't rebellion, it's revision. What makes it laughable is how she tried to spin a minor clothing guideline into some grand injustice, like sheer tights were the shackles of Buckingham Palace, when in reality, women everywhere wear them to weddings, offices, and interviews without crying oppression.
Meghan Markle was never told within the British royal family what to say or what to everywhere.
Meghan turned a basic accessory into a political statement, forgetting the receipts of her own career and blog are still online. Instead of proving she was modern and relatable, she proved she's willing to lie about nylons to score sympathy points. That's not empowerment, it's embarrassing cosplay.
What have you learned about yourself since becoming Sussex?
Well, interesting. What I learned about myself is no matter what my name is or what people call me.
Meghan strutted into that Bloomberg interview, puffing herself up as some fearless entrepreneur, insisting Netflix was merely an investor backing her independent empire. She framed it like she was the visionary, calling the shots, building an empire with her bare hands.
If you know your audience, you know your demographic, well, they love the show. And my partners love the show, and that's why we have a season 2.
But within minutes, her own words betrayed her. Suddenly, Netflix wasn't just investing. They were providing suppliers, manufacturing, infrastructure, basically holding her entire operation together like training wheels for a kid who never learned to ride. That's not independence, that's dependency, dressed up as power. And the kicker? Not long after this interview, reports surfaced that Netflix was scaling back on her partnership, trimming down deals, and quietly pulling the plug on grand promises.
Rubbish, another lie. Netflix decided not to have a season 2, but just to break up season 1 into 2 parts because the whole thing was such a disaster.
The image of Meghan as a fearless mogul collapsed faster than her jam sales pitch. She wanted to look like Jeff Bezos in heels. What we got was a startup founder who can't run a lemonade stand without corporate babysitting. It wasn't business acumen. It was smoke and mirrors, a PR fantasy that unraveled live on camera. Meghan didn't expose her business savvy here. She exposed the fact that without Netflix, her empire is nothing more than a glossy Instagram mood board.
So when you were 11 years old, you protested an ad that you thought was sexist. Oh, and I found...
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, you're bringing this up again? This thing that I bring up all the time? You're bringing that up? I'm so surprised.
Meghan loves to tell the world she grew up scraping by, clipping coupons, and hustling through a life of hardship. It's her favorite audition monologue, the struggling girl who made it big. But then she slips, bragging about saving up for designer clothing in high school, casually dropping the fact she attended Northwestern University, one of the most expensive schools in America. That's not poverty. That's privilege repackaged as trauma.
That time was really fascinating because that day that we were watching that commercial at school was also when the LA riots were happening.
This thing that my dad did that I'm not going to mention him at all because my dad's the devil.
It's the Meghan Markle specialty. Dress up a comfortable upbringing, slap on some discount drama, and hope nobody remembers the receipts. She wants you to picture her battling for scraps, when the reality looks a lot closer to a kid with access, resources, and opportunities most people only dream about. You don't clip coupons your way into a top private university and luxury wardrobes. You get there because your life was already padded with comfort. The Bloomberg interview didn't show resilience. It showed a woman trying to cosplay as Cinderella while leaving the glass slipper price tag still attached. Meghan doesn't sell authenticity. She sells pity wrapped in Chanel. And the saddest part, she can't even keep the script straight. One sentence, she's the struggling girl next door. The next, she's bragging about brand name shopping sprees. That's not a survival story. It's a fairy tale gone wrong, where the princess exposes her own privilege while begging for applause.
Well, we moved here 5 years ago. Oh, we're just so happy because supported sweet life. So I love it. We have such a beautiful, embracing community.
Meghan sat there declaring she lives openly, freely, blending into communities, strolling around like an everyday citizen untouched by fame. She painted herself as the woman who doesn't need disguises, who refuses to hide from the public eye. But then the mask slipped. When asked what she'd do with true anonymity, her fantasy wasn't about grand adventures or private escapes. No, her dream was grocery shopping. Normal, anonymous, aisle-wandering grocery shopping.
I remember being in high school and having my after-school job, and all I wanted to do was save up to buy a shirt that said BB.
So which is it? If she's already out there living freely, why is supermarket anonymity her secret wish? It's laughable theater. On one hand, she's the bold duchess who embraces visibility. On the other, she's the frustrated celebrity craving invisibility just to buy bananas. Meghan can't decide if she's a prisoner of fame or the queen of normal life, so she plays both roles at once, exposing herself as someone more confused about her own reality than anyone else. Bloomberg didn't capture a woman at peace. It captured a performer so tangled in her own narrative she can't keep her story straight. Privacy for Meghan isn't about protection. It's a prop, dragged out whenever she needs a headline, then abandoned when it's convenient. When Meghan started gushing about her luxury jam brand, you could almost hear the fairy dust swirling. She painted a picture of jars flying off shelves by the thousands in minutes, tens of thousands in hours, and then why not massive million-jar purchase orders rolling in like she'd reinvented Coca-Cola.
When you sell out that quickly, it's a double-edged sword because it's an incredible thing to happen for any small business and any startup.
Except there's just one tiny problem. No evidence, no data, no receipts. It's not commerce, it's comedy. She wants the world to believe believe her fruit spread is the hottest phenomenon since the iPhone, when in reality, most people didn't even know it existed until she shoved it into this Bloomberg interview. The sales numbers she rattled off weren't ambitious. They were delusional, the kind of wild exaggerations you hear from a kid trying to convince their parents they actually did their homework. Real entrepreneurs hustle, grind, and back their claims with proof. Meghan, she inflates a few jars of jam into an empire that doesn't exist outside of her imagination. The more she hyped it, the more it sounded like a desperate PR mirage. A fantasy empire she thought the cameras would validate. But instead of impressing anyone, she exposed herself as a pretender in the business world, someone who mistakes storytelling for strategy. The Bloomberg moment wasn't a pitch. It was self-parody. And by the end, the only thing she sold was the image of a duchess playing dress-up as a CEO, offering the world fairy tale sales numbers that evaporate the second you ask for proof.
You were off social media for years and now you're back on. Do you feel like you're sort of launching a new you?
These are lies.
Meghan leaned back in that interview and tried to convince the world she's vintage, a pen and paper soul who shuns gadgets and avoids the trappings of digital life. She framed herself as a woman out of time, handwriting notes while everyone else scrolls. But then reality barges in, because this so-called technophobe runs a brand built entirely on digital marketing, orders groceries through apps like Instacart, and strategically relaunched herself on Instagram the second she smelled profit. That's not old-fashioned, that's opportunistic. It's like a chef claiming they never touch stoves while running a Michelin kitchen. She wasn't exposing a charming quirk, she was exposing a performance, a flimsy attempt to appear down to earth while actually living online like the rest of us.
I think our character, who we are at your core, I don't think that shifts.
Meghan doesn't reject technology. She milks it, bends it, and cashes in on it. The idea that she's allergic to modern tech is as believable as her jam numbers. Bloomberg didn't capture a digital minimalist. It captured a woman who lies about her habits to look relatable, forgetting that her entire empire depends on the very devices she pretends to despise. She doesn't rise above technology. She rides it straight to the bank while selling the crowd a fantasy of simplicity.
Meghan feels like she is better than everyone else. Simply put, you know, I'm in royalty and I can talk and say what I want. These are my experiences, and you know, whatever you think is what you think, but I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's, I think, where the problem is for Meghan.
So there you have it, 7 moments where Meghan Markle didn't just stumble. She set fire to her own carefully constructed persona live on Bloomberg. She strutted in like she was about to deliver a masterclass in power and resilience. But what the world got was an accidental roast delivered by Meghan herself. She claimed she didn't read the press, yet rattled off tabloid SEO tricks like she was secretly managing the algorithm. She pretended pantyhose were a medieval punishment, forgetting the internet holds endless photos of her strutting around in them long before she ever set foot in a palace. She puffed up her Netflix partnership like she was Silicon Valley royalty, then exposed the fact the entire operation was being propped up by the very company she pretended to control. She sold a rags to riches fantasy while casually name-dropping luxury shopping trips and a Northwestern education. She promised she lived freely in public, then admitted her greatest dream was anonymity just to buy groceries. She pitched a jam empire with sales figures so ridiculous you'd think she was selling moon dust. And finally, she played the technophobe while running her entire brand through apps, Instagram, and digital campaigns. This wasn't authenticity. This was performance art.
Yes, we are talking about you and the horrible things that you have done, Meghan Markle. We're simply reacting to the things that you are actually doing.
Meghan didn't just weaken her story. She shredded it on camera. She doesn't need the tabloids to expose her. She's her own headline, her own scandal, her own downfall machine. Bloomberg gave her the mic, and she proved the harshest critic of Meghan Markle is Meghan Markle. And if you thought this was brutal, my last breakdown goes even deeper, showing how Meghan torched her reputation long before this Bloomberg mess. Watch it next. And subscribe to Star Spotlight, where we cut through the gloss, strip away the spin, and show you the raw truth the headlines are too scared to touch.